Alright, a little bit of jet and helicopter tips and tricks by me, Hectic J9. And, well, basically with what I start off with as a jet, what I roll with is ECM jammer, rockets, air radar. And a good tip would be not to ram other aircraft like that, because I know on PC people scream about it if you ram them. And it's kind of weird how a lot of times if you ram, it's like not realistic, because usually if you ram another plane, you're gonna instantly explode. But yeah, and then a little tip of going against helicopters is a good thing would be to get some distance between you and the helicopter, and then you can gain some altitude also, and come down at the helicopter at an angle, and then shoot your guns while you're coming down at them, which you'll see me do a little bit more later. And I saw this jet get off. I don't know. I guess he bailed just to see if he can get onto one of those oil towers, or a quicker way to get to E. I don't know. But as you can see here, if you don't get yourself enough distance between a helicopter, you won't be able to have enough time to put guns on them. And so what I'm here to do is try again with getting some distance and uh, altitude. And here I am coming down at the helicopter at a little angle, shooting at him, but I don't get him to disable the vehicle or destroy it. So I do believe that my mobile AA does get him. And right there, with two different things you can have to deter rock or guided missiles, is one is the flares, which is the first one you get. With flares, you don't deploy as soon as you hear the lock start coming on. You hear the you wait until you hear the long beep saying that the missile is tracking you, and that's when you deploy the flares. And with ECM jammer, you uh, usually try to deploy it as soon as you start hearing it being locked on, because every time I wait until the missile's tracking me and I deploy it, it always gets me. But as you just saw there, a jet snuck up behind me. I'm guessing he had below radar, which is a little perk you get with a jet, and same thing with the helicopter. I believe you get it with the helicopter. Whereas you fly low to the altitude, it's harder to detect. And right here, I'm trying to get a good position behind the jet, because it was a little difficulty, because all he was doing was turning and turning and turning. But I was eventually able to get behind him, and yeah, and with the jet, it's good to go into third person, like right there, because it's easier to spot targets, such as other jets and helicopters, and maybe tanks if you have a really good eye. But here, I'm guessing he bails here too, and yeah, and this you definitely do not want to do with jets. This is like your maximum altitude you can get, and when you get there, you're just start floating in la la land, and it takes a while for you to get out of it, and it makes you vulnerable to rocket or to missiles and other jets. And here, it's not a very good thing to do. It's not very nice. I mean, there's no rule unless on PC the server is actually watching. It's not very nice to take out their jets. But I saw that they had barely even had any jets up, so I just took it out just for a little fun. And here I'm trying to get some distance between me and the map so I can look around and acquire some targets. Example of, and I like to roll rockets with my jets because I can do this and see if there's anyone there and see if I can take any of them out. But yeah, and I'm just flying and flying and flying, looking over here to see if anyone's gonna take off. I didn't see anyone. Someone's trying to lock on to me. And yeah, I do believe at their base they had a SOFLAM, and I got targeted by a javelin later. I didn't record it, but it was later on in the game. But I don't know if it's like a bug or something, because even though especially with javelins, they the soul flame will lock onto you, but then you get out of its range, and so it stops saying that's locked onto you. But javelins are still locked onto you somehow. And even though it says there's nothing tracking you, there's a javelin coming after you, and it gets me. So, and there's no way to get away from it, like even deploying flares or ECM jammer. And so I don't know what the deal is with that. But yeah, here I am in jet looking around, looking for targets. In this match, it was a very small one. I think it was like at most 6v6. Um, but yeah, so there wasn't very many jets. And here I am just bombarding more flags. And I didn't notice them at first, but yeah, there was a jet behind me. So right now we're just trying to outturn each other. And if you ever get in this situation, the best speeds would be it's best to slow down and turn. But don't go too slow, because then you start to turn, then you go too slow, and so you like turn really slowly. And the same thing if you're too fast while you turn very slow. And I do believe the best speed to turn at is like at 260-ish to like 320, around that area. And here, I don't know why I did this, I just did. I hurry up and jumped in their helicopter. And yeah. With helicopters, I like to go with in third person to make sure there's nothing around me, especially when I'm hovering, which you'll see me do when I try to recapture E, or not E, C. And with helicopter, I'm rolling with guided rockets, heat seekers, and ECM jammer. And I see these guys up. Here's a good example of guided rockets, is right here. I get the one guy, but I think the tank over there by my base takes out the other guy. But yeah, guided rockets are a little tricky to use along with regular rockets, because it's hard to know exactly where to aim your crosshairs at in order for them to be on target. And as you can see, here is my example of how I like to go in third person while I'm hovering, so I can see if there's any poles around me, and so I can fly around them if I get too close to them. And a good tip to get points with a helicopter, especially on PC, is to find an empty server. And if you can get a friend, that's awesome, because then, especially in its conquest, you should use it. Is that if you have a friend or someone else is on the server and you're like, hey, let's just score for points. You capture a flag and I go around and capture your flags. And with helicopters and any vehicles, if you capture points with it, you get it for that vehicle. And so that's a good way to get points for your helicopter. And as you just saw right there, I have no idea what happened. I deployed ECM and they were still able to lock onto me. A missile came after me. I tried to run away, but I guess somehow I did a little bit get away from it. It somehow got me, but it didn't disable my vehicle. And that happens sometimes. As you can see right here is I'm going after this little anti-aircraft. And did that say FPS? Okay, I could have sworn that said FPS Russia. I guess I'll find out in a little bit. But yeah, I going after this anti-aircraft, and anti-aircraft is very hard to go after, because if they see you, they're constantly aiming your guns at them. Which right here, I'm able to disable the vehicle, but I come back for another run, but he's still firing his guns at me, and I am not able to take him out. But I jump out and shoot a rocket and kill him. Oh, it's FPS Bajan. And a little teabag. I thought a little teabag was in order here. And so and then this is practically the end of the video. I mean, I'm just going off into capture some D. But yeah, it's basically some good tips and tricks with jets, especially to help people that are having a little difficulty deterring some other jets and mobile anti-aircraft. Alright, thanks for watching.